Pretend I'm your husband. The words cut through Maya's peaceful solitude like a blade through silk. She hadn't even seen him approach. One moment she was savoring the first bite of food she'd actually looked forward to in months. The next a stranger's warm breath was against her ear, his expensive cologne mixing with the scent of her untouched wine. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. "Excuse me." The man slid into the chair across from her with practiced ease, his movements fluid and confident. Dark hair, sharp jawline, eyes that seemed to calculate every angle of the room in a single sweep. He reached across the small table and covered her free hand with his, the gesture so natural it could have fooled anyone watching. "There are photographers outside," he said quietly, his voice carrying an urgency that made her stomach flip. "They followed me here. If you help me, I'll make it worth your while." Maya's mind raced. She'd chosen this restaurant specifically because it was quiet, because she could disappear into a corner booth and pretend for one evening that her life wasn't falling apart. She'd dressed carefully, her one good black dress, the earrings her grandmother left her, makeup applied with shaking hands because tonight was supposed to be her celebration. Her divorce papers had been finalized that morning. She was officially free, officially broke, and officially starting over at 32 with nothing but a teaching job that barely covered rent. "I don't know who you think I am," she whispered, trying to pull her hand away, but his grip tightened, not painful, but insistent. "You're perfect," he said, and something in his tone made her look at him properly for the first time. There was desperation there, carefully masked but unmistakable. "You're exactly what I need." That's when she noticed them, flashes of light through the restaurant's front windows. Cameras. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she realized people were starting to turn, to look, to point their phones in their direction. "I don't understand." "My name is Gabriel Rivera," he said, and the name hit her like a physical blow. Everyone knew that name. Rivera Industries. Forbes lists. The man whose face appeared on magazine covers and business news segments. The man currently holding her hand like they'd done this 1,000 times before. "The board meets tomorrow," Gabriel continued, his thumb tracing circles on her knuckles in a gesture that would read as intimate to anyone watching. "They are voting on whether to remove me as CEO. Apparently, my unstable personal life makes me a liability." Maya's teaching instincts kicked in, the same ones that helped her navigate teenage drama and faculty politics. She could read between lines, spot the hidden agendas, recognize when someone was drowning. "And you need a wife." "I need the appearance of stability." His eyes met hers, and she saw something there that reminded her uncomfortably of her own reflection these past few months. 24 hours. That's all I'm asking." The waiter appeared at their table, clearly starstruck. "Mr. Rivera. What an honor. Can I get you anything?" Gabriel's smile was perfect, practiced. "Just the check for my wife's meal, please. We have an early flight tomorrow." "Wife." The word hung in the air between them like a challenge. "Hey, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Drop a comment and let me know how you're feeling about this story so far and where you are watching from. Some stories are too close to my heart to share on YouTube. I send those, along with little life lessons and surprises, to my email circle. If you'd like to be part of it, you can join with the link in the description." Maya stared at Gabriel Rivera, her mind spinning through possibilities and consequences. She thought about her empty apartment, the stack of unpaid bills on her kitchen counter, the way her ex-husband had looked at her when he'd said she'd never amount to anything without him. She thought about her students who looked up to her, about the dreams she'd put on hold, about the voice in her head that sounded suspiciously like her mother saying that opportunities like this didn't come to girls like her. "What's in it for me?" she heard herself ask. Gabriel's relief was subtle but unmistakable. "Name your price." "I want to teach," she said quickly, before she could lose her nerve. "I want to open a school. A real one, where kids like me can get the education they deserve." Something shifted in his expression. "Kids like you. Kids who get told they're not smart enough, not good enough, not enough period." Her voice was steady now, stronger. "I want to change that." Gabriel nodded slowly. "Done. Just like that. I never make promises I can't keep." He lifted their joined hands and pressed them to his lips, a gesture so tender it made her breath catch. 24 hours, Maya. Help me save my company, and I'll help you change the world." She realized she'd never told him her name. The flash of cameras intensified outside, and Gabriel's expression hardened slightly. "There's something else you should know," he said, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Someone's been trying to destroy me. The photographers, the board vote, The questions about my personal life, none of it's coincidental. Someone wants me gone. Maya felt ice form in her stomach. And you think pretending to be married will fix that? I think it'll buy me time to figure out who's behind it. His eyes searched hers. But Maya, once we walk out of here together, there's no going back. Are you sure you want this? Outside, a black car pulled up to the curb. More cameras. More attention. Maya looked at Gabriel Rivera, this stranger who was offering her everything she'd ever wanted, and realized that sometimes the most dangerous decisions were the ones that felt most like destiny. She squeezed his hand. Let's go meet your board. But as they stood to leave, Maya caught sight of someone in the restaurant's reflection, a man in the corner booth, watching them with cold calculation, his phone pressed to his ear. Gabriel followed her gaze and went rigid. We need to go. Now. And as they rushed toward the exit, Maya realized she'd just agreed to marry a man who might be running for his life. The ride to Gabriel's penthouse passed in a blur of city lights and suffocating silence. Maya pressed herself against the leather seat of his car, hyper-aware of every breath, every glance, every way this man beside her seemed to command space without trying. The driver, a mountain of a man named Reeves who'd appeared from nowhere, kept checking the mirrors with military precision. No one's following us, Reeves said finally, his voice gravelly. Whoever that was at the restaurant, they didn't make a move. Gabriel nodded but didn't relax. Take us up the back way. As they pulled into an underground garage beneath one of the city's most exclusive towers, Maya felt reality crashing down around her. 3 hours ago, she'd been celebrating her freedom with a $20 pasta. Now she was about to enter a world she'd only seen in magazines. Second thoughts. Gabriel asked as the elevator climbed. About 100. Maya watched the floor numbers climb. 30, 40, 50. But I meant what I said about the school. So did I. The elevator dinged softly. After you. Gabriel's apartment defied every expectation Maya had about billionaire bachelor pads. Yes, it was enormous. Yes, the view of the city was breathtaking. But instead of cold minimalism, she found warmth, books everywhere, family photos, a guitar leaning against a window, children's drawings stuck to the refrigerator with magnets. You have kids? She asked, surprised. My sister does. Did. Gabriel's jaw tightened as he moved to pour himself a drink. Elena died in a car accident 2 years ago. Her kids, Sophia and Diego, they live with me now. The grief in his voice was raw, unguarded. Maya felt something shift inside her chest, a recognition of loss that mirrored her own. I'm sorry. They are asleep, Gabriel said, gesturing toward a hallway. 7 and 9. They don't know about tomorrow, about any of this. I've tried to keep them out of the public eye. Maya studied the drawings on the fridge. Stick figures holding hands, a house with too many windows, a man in a suit labeled Uncle Gabe surrounded by hearts. They love you. They are all I have left of her. Gabriel's voice cracked slightly. Elena was the only one who believed in me when I started the company. She invested her entire inheritance, money our parents left her, into Rivera Industries. If I lose the company tomorrow, you lose their future too. Gabriel nodded, and Maya saw him clearly for the first time. Not a powerful billionaire, but a man drowning in responsibility, fighting to honor his sister's memory while protecting 2 orphaned children. My ex-husband used to say I collected strays, Maya said quietly. Students who needed extra help, causes that were lost before I found them. He said it made me weak. What do you think? Maya moved to the window, looking out at the city sprawling below. I think some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds are impossible. Gabriel joined her at the window, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Tell me about your school. The real vision, not the elevator pitch. For the next hour, Maya found herself talking, really talking, for the first time in months. She told him about growing up in foster care, about teachers who'd seen potential when everyone else saw problems, about her ex-husband Daniel, who'd slowly convinced her that her dreams were naive, that someone like her should be grateful for what little she had. He left me for his dental hygienist, Maya said with a bitter laugh. Said she understood his ambitions better. His loss, Gabriel said simply, and something in his tone made her believe it. Gabriel opened up too, revealing the pressure from Rivera Industries' board, the hostile takeover attempts, the way vultures circled whenever they sensed weakness. The company employs 12,000 people, he said. If the board votes me out tomorrow, my replacement will gut half the workforce to inflate profits. So we convince them you're stable, Maya said. Married, settled, responsible. It's not that simple. Gabriel's phone buzzed, and his expression darkened as he read the message. There's something I haven't told you. Before he could continue, the apartment door opened. A woman entered, tall, elegant, moving with the confidence of someone who belonged. She was beautiful in that effortless way that spoke of good genes and better stylists, her blonde hair perfect despite the late hour. Gabriel. The woman's voice carried a slight accent, European, expensive. I saw the news alerts. You were photographed with someone tonight. Maya felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. Maya, this is Vivien Laurent, Gabriel said carefully. My business partner. Vivien, Maya is. Your wife, apparently. Vivien's smile was sharp as glass. How absolutely fascinating. The way Gabriel tensed beside her, the way Vivien's eyes calculated and dismissed Maya in the same glance, suddenly Maya understood. This was Gabriel's world. These were the people he belonged with. Whatever story she'd been telling herself about connection and chemistry evaporated in the face of Vivien's obvious claim on him. I should go, Maya said, reaching for her purse. Maya, wait, Gabriel caught her arm. Actually, Vivien interrupted smoothly. Perhaps it's better this way. Gabriel, the board has moved up the vote. It's happening first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. Gabriel went rigid. That's impossible. We had until noon. Richard Kane convinced them there was an urgent need to address your instability. Vivien's gaze flicked to Maya. Apparently, your sudden marriage to a complete stranger has raised some concerns. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. How do they already know? Vivien held up her phone, showing a gossip website with photos of them at the restaurant. The headline read, Billionaire's Secret Wife, Gabriel Rivera's Desperate Marriage Scandal. But it was the subheading that made Maya's stomach plummet. Sources confirm bride is recently divorced teacher with mountain of debt. How did they get my financial information? Maya whispered. Gabriel's voice was deadly quiet. Vivien, what did you do? I did what I always do, Vivien said coolly. I protected the company. The board needed to understand exactly what kind of woman you'd chosen to tie yourself to. The betrayal hit Maya like a physical blow. She'd been in this world for exactly 4 hours, and already she was being dissected, her failures displayed for public consumption. The article mentioned her student loans, her credit card debt, even her mother's struggles with addiction. Details that should have been private. You had me investigated, Maya said to Gabriel. Before you even asked me to help you. Gabriel's silence was answer enough. I need to leave, Maya said, her voice surprisingly steady. This was a mistake. But as she moved toward the door, Vivien's next words stopped her cold. Oh, Maya dear, I'm afraid it's too late for that. You see, the marriage license has already been filed. As of 3 hours ago, you're legally Gabriel's wife. And given his custody agreement for the children, any attempt to annul the marriage in the next 30 days would trigger an automatic review. Maya spun around. What custody agreement? Gabriel's face had gone white. Elena's will included a morality clause. If I'm deemed unfit or unstable, the children go to Daniel and Patricia Kane, Richard Kane's brother and sister-in-law. The same Richard Kane who's trying to oust you from your company. Maya's mind raced through the implications. My sister was trying to protect them, Gabriel said quietly. She never could have known. Vivien's smile was triumphant. So you see, Maya, you're not just Gabriel's wife now. You're the only thing standing between those children and a family that's been trying to get their hands on them, and Gabriel's inheritance, since Elena died. Maya sank into a chair, the weight of manipulation settling around her like chains. She'd walked into this thinking she was helping a stranger for mutual benefit. Now she was trapped in a web of corporate politics, child custody battles, and family feuds that went back years. Why? She asked Gabriel. Why didn't you tell me about the children's custody situation? Because I knew you'd say yes for the wrong reasons, Gabriel said softly. I needed you to choose this, not feel obligated. And now? Gabriel knelt beside her chair, his eyes intense. Now I'm asking you to stay. Not for me, not for the company, but for Sophia and Diego. They've lost everything once already. Maya looked at the children's drawings on the refrigerator, then at Vivien's calculated smirk, then at Gabriel's desperate hope. She thought about her empty apartment, her buried dreams, her ex-husband's voice telling her she'd never be enough for anything that mattered. Maybe he was right. But maybe, just this once, she could be enough for someone who really needed her. "24 hours," she said finally. "But after that, we figure out how to get all of us out of this mess." Gabriel's relief was palpable. "Thank you." But as Vivien left with promises to prepare the board for Gabriel's new circumstances, Maya caught her parting shot. "Do try to look the part tomorrow, dear. The wives in Gabriel's circle have certain standards." Alone with Gabriel, Maya finally asked the question that had been burning in her throat. "The man watching us at the restaurant. You knew him?" Gabriel's expression darkened. "Richard Kane's private investigator. He's been following me for weeks. So they knew about tonight before it happened. They knew I'd be desperate enough to try something like this." Gabriel met her eyes. "The question is, how did they know I'd be at that specific restaurant at that exact time?" The implication hung between them like a loaded gun. Someone close to Gabriel had set him up. Someone who knew his schedule, his habits, his desperation. Someone who might be closer than either of them realized. Maya woke to the sound of screaming. She jolted upright on Gabriel's guest room bed, her heart hammering as high-pitched cries echoed through the apartment. For a disoriented moment, she forgot where she was, then reality crashed back. The fake marriage. The board meeting. The children who were screaming. She threw on Gabriel's robe and ran toward the sound, finding chaos in the living room. 9-year-old Sophia stood in front of her 7-year-old brother Diego, both of them still in pajamas, facing down two official-looking strangers in suits. "Where's Uncle Gabe?" Sophia demanded, her voice fierce despite the tears streaming down her face. "Sophia, Diego, get behind me." Maya stepped between the children and the strangers, her teacher instincts kicking in. "Who are you and what are you doing in this apartment?" The woman, sharp-featured, clipboard in hand, looked Maya up and down with obvious disdain. "I'm Patricia Kane from Child Protective Services. This is my associate, Mr. Henderson. We're here for an emergency custody evaluation." Kane. The name hit Maya like ice water. Richard Kane's sister-in-law. At 6 in the morning. Maya kept her voice steady, aware that both children were pressed against her back. "Given the recent developments in Mr. Rivera's personal life," Patricia said coolly, "the court has ordered an immediate assessment of the children's living situation." "What developments?" Gabriel's voice came from behind them, deadly quiet. Maya turned to see him emerge from his bedroom, already dressed for the board meeting, his expression murderous. Patricia smiled with cold satisfaction. The emergency marriage to a financially unstable stranger. The media attention. The complete disruption of these children's stable environment. She consulted her clipboard. "Tell me, Mr. Rivera, did you discuss this decision with Sophia and Diego before dragging them into your corporate drama?" "We didn't drag anyone anywhere," Maya said before Gabriel could respond. "The children were asleep when." "And you out?" Patricia's attention swiveled to Maya like a weapon. "I'm their aunt," Maya said, the lie rolling off her tongue with surprising ease. "Maya Rivera." Sophia looked up at her with wide, confused eyes, but something in Maya's expression must have warned her to stay quiet. "Aunt." Patricia's eyebrows rose. "There's no mention of a sister in our files." "Because Maya was Elena's best friend," Gabriel said smoothly, moving to stand beside them. "Family isn't always blood, Ms. Kane. I'm sure you understand." The way he said Kane made it clear he knew exactly who she was. Patricia's smile grew sharper. "How convenient. And when did this friendship become a marriage?" "Yesterday," Maya said, lifting her chin. "We've been planning it for months, but Gabriel's work schedule made it difficult to find time for romance." Patricia laughed, the sound brittle. "How modern. Tell me, Mrs. Rivera, what's your background with children?" "I'm a teacher. Elementary. High school. English and creative writing." Patricia made a note. "So no experience with children Sophia and Diego's age." Maya felt the trap closing around them, but before she could respond, Diego spoke up. "She makes good pancakes," he said quietly. "And she reads voices different for all the characters." Maya's heart clenched. When had she read to him? She'd only been here one night. "I had a nightmare," Sophia said, as if reading Maya's confusion. "You came and read to us. You did all the voices from our book." Maya remembered now, the soft knock on her door around midnight, two small faces peering around the corner. She'd been too wired to sleep anyway, and sitting with them, reading Elena's copy of The Princess Bride with voices for Wesley and Buttercup and Inigo Montoya, had felt like the most natural thing in the world. "How touching," Patricia said dryly. Still, reading bedtime stories hardly qualifies someone to be a mother figure to grieving children. What does qualify someone? Gabriel's voice carried a dangerous edge. Because last I checked, you and your husband have spent exactly 0 time with Sophia and Diego since Elena's funeral. Patricia's professional mask slipped slightly. We've been respecting your grief, Gabriel. But clearly, you're not making decisions in the children's best interests. Unlike your brother-in-law. Maya asked, the one trying to steal Gabriel's company. The temperature in the room plummeted. Patricia's eyes narrowed to slits. Mr. Henderson, she said to her companion, please document the hostile environment these children are exposed to. Henderson, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. Perhaps we should interview the children separately. No. The word came out harder than Maya intended. They stay together, and they stay with us. Mrs. Rivera, Patricia said with false patience, you don't seem to understand the situation. I have a court order. Let me see it. Patricia hesitated, just for a second, but Maya caught it. The court order, Maya pressed. I'd like to read it. I don't have to. Actually, you do. Gabriel's phone was already in his hand. Reeves? I need our family attorney here now. Yes, I know what time it is. No, this can't wait. Patricia's confident facade cracked further. This isn't necessary. We're simply conducting a routine. At 6 a.m. the morning of my board meeting. Gabriel stepped closer. How did you know about that, Patricia? The board vote was moved up last night. Very few people knew. The silence stretched tight as a wire. Then Diego tugged on Maya's robe. Aunt Maya, why is the mean lady trying to take us away? The innocence in his voice shattered something inside Maya. These children had already lost their mother. They'd been through enough trauma to last a lifetime. And now they were being used as pawns in an adult game of power and revenge. She's not, Maya said firmly, kneeling to Diego's level. No one is taking you anywhere. Promise? Sophia asked, her young voice carrying the weight of too much loss. Maya looked into those dark eyes, Elena's eyes, Gabriel had said, and felt something fundamental shift inside her chest. This wasn't about 24 hours anymore. This wasn't about helping a stranger or escaping her own problems. This was about 2 children who needed someone to fight for them. I promise, Maya said. And in that moment, she knew she meant it. Gabriel's attorney arrived within 15 minutes, a sharp woman named Caroline who took one look at Patricia's court order and declared it invalid. Emergency custody evaluations require 72 hours notice except in cases of imminent physical danger, Caroline explained tersely. This document is basically worthless. Patricia's mask fell away completely, revealing something ugly underneath. This isn't over, Gabriel. Those children deserve better than whatever game you're playing. You're right, Gabriel said quietly. They deserve better than being used as leverage in your family's vendetta against me. After Patricia and Henderson left, the apartment felt like a bomb site. Sophia and Diego clung to Maya and Gabriel respectively, their earlier bravado replaced by the vulnerability of children who'd had their security threatened once again. We need to talk, Caroline said once the kids were settled with breakfast and cartoons. Patricia Kane may not have had a valid court order today, but she could get one. Especially if the board votes you out this morning. Gabriel ran his hands through his hair. How much time do we have? For what it's worth. The current custody arrangement is solid as long as you maintain stability. But if you lose the company, if there's any suggestion of financial or emotional instability, they'll argue I can't provide for the children, Gabriel finished. Or that the stress is making you an unfit guardian. Caroline's expression was grim. The emergency marriage doesn't help. It looks impulsive, desperate. So what do we do? Maya asked. Caroline studied her for a long moment. Make it look real. Not just for the next few hours, but for the long haul. The Kanes are going to be watching every move you make. Gabriel's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. What is it? Maya asked. The board meeting. They want you there. Me? As my wife. They want to meet the woman who inspired my sudden change in perspective. Gabriel's voice was hollow. Maya, this is bigger than I thought. They are not just questioning my leadership, they are putting our entire relationship on trial. Maya felt the walls closing in. In the span of 12 hours, she'd gone from celebrating her freedom to being legally bound to a stranger, responsible for 2 traumatized children, and about to face a room full of corporate sharks who would tear her apart for sport. What happens if they see through us? She asked. I lose everything, Gabriel said simply. The company, the children, any chance of honoring Elena's memory. Maya looked at Sophia and Diego, curled up together on the couch, and felt something fierce and protective rise in her chest. She thought about her ex-husband's voice telling her she'd never be enough, about years of playing it safe and settling for less than she deserved. Maybe Gabriel was right. Maybe she was exactly what he needed. But more importantly, maybe Sophia and Diego were exactly what she needed too. Okay, she said. Let's go convince them we're the real thing. Gabriel's relief was visible. Maya, But first, she interrupted, I need to know everything. Every secret, every enemy, every detail about why the Canes want those children so badly. Because if we're doing this, we're doing it right. Gabriel nodded slowly. There's something about Elena's death. Something that never made sense. What do you mean? The accident happened 3 blocks from Richard Kane's office. Elena was supposed to meet him that day about selling her shares in the company. She was going to walk away from Rivera Industries entirely. Maya felt ice form in her stomach. And she never made it to the meeting. But the police report said she was driving away from his building when she crashed, not toward it. The implication hung in the air like poison. You think? I think my sister discovered something that day. Something worth killing for. Maya stared at him, the full scope of what they were walking into finally becoming clear. This wasn't just about corporate power plays or custody battles. This was about murder. And now, whether she'd intended it or not, Maya was right in the middle of it. The Rivera Industries boardroom occupied the entire 52nd floor, its glass walls offering a panoramic view of the city that made Maya feel like she was suspended in mid-air. 12 people sat around a mahogany table that probably cost more than her annual salary, their faces ranging from curious to openly hostile. Gabriel's hand found hers under the table, his thumb tracing reassuring circles on her palm. To anyone watching, it looked like an intimate gesture between newlyweds. Maya tried not to think about how natural it felt. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Kane said from the head of the table, his silver hair and expensive suit giving him the appearance of a distinguished statesman. Thank you for attending this emergency session. As you know, we're here to address concerns about Gabriel's recent decisions. Kane's pale eyes found Maya's across the table, and she felt like prey being sized up by a predator. Gabriel, Kane continued, would you like to introduce your wife to the board? Gabriel stood, his posture confident despite the tension radiating from his body. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Maya Rivera. We were married yesterday evening. A murmur ran around the table. Maya recognized some faces from business magazines, tech moguls, real estate titans, old money aristocrats. All of them studying her like a specimen under a microscope. How romantic, said Margaret Blackwood, a woman in her 60s whose jewelry probably funded small countries. Such a whirlwind courtship. Tell us, dear, how did you meet? Maya had rehearsed this answer during the car ride over. Through mutual friends. Gabriel and I have been circling each other for months. It wasn't technically a lie. They had met through mutual circumstances, and there had definitely been circling involved. Months. Kane's eyebrows rose. How interesting. Because our private investigator has been monitoring Gabriel's activities quite closely, and there's no record of any romantic relationship. Gabriel's grip on Maya's hand tightened. Since when does Rivera Industries employ private investigators to spy on its CEO? Since that CEO started making erratic decisions that affect shareholder value, Kane replied smoothly. The sudden marriage to a woman with significant financial difficulties, the custody of 2 children who aren't biologically related to you, the emotional instability following your sister's tragic accident. Careful, Richard. Gabriel's voice carried a warning that made several board members shift uncomfortably. Maya felt the undercurrents in the room like electrical charges. These people weren't just concerned about Gabriel's leadership, they were afraid of him. Which meant he had power they wanted. Perhaps Maya could tell us about herself, suggested Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a venture capitalist who'd built her fortune on reading people. Your background, your plans now that you're part of the Rivera family. This was the test. Maya could feel it in the way conversations stopped, the way phones were subtly positioned to record, the way Kane leaned forward like a snake preparing to strike. I'm a teacher, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. I believe in education as the great equalizer. Now that I have the resources to make a real difference, I plan to open a school for underserved communities. How admirable, Kane said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And expensive. Tell me, Maya, What happens if Gabriel loses his position today? Will you still want to be married to a man who can't fund your philanthropic dreams? The question hung in the air like a blade. Maya felt every eye in the room on her, waiting for her answer to reveal whether she was a gold digger or something else entirely. I didn't marry Gabriel for his money, Maya said quietly. I married him because he's the kind of man who raises his sister's children without hesitation, who builds companies that employ thousands of people, who fights for what he believes in even when the odds are impossible. She turned to look at Gabriel, and for a moment, the words stopped feeling like performance. I married him because he sees potential where others see problems. Because he believes in second chances and impossible dreams. Gabriel's eyes were intense on hers, and Maya felt something shift between them. Something that had nothing to do with their audience. How touching, Kane said dryly. Tell me, Gabriel, did you mention to your new bride that Rivera Industries is currently under federal investigation for accounting irregularities? The words hit the room like a bomb. Maya felt Gabriel go rigid beside her. What investigation? Gabriel's voice was deadly quiet. Kane's smile was triumphant. The one that began 3 weeks ago. Apparently, there are concerns about how Elena's inheritance was integrated into company finances after her death. Maya's blood turned to ice. Elena's inheritance, the money she'd invested in Gabriel's company, the money that now supported Sofia and Diego. That's impossible, Gabriel said. Every transaction was properly documented and approved. By you, Kane said. Which is why the federal investigators are particularly interested in speaking with anyone who might have knowledge of your sister's final wishes regarding her investment. The trap was closing around them, Maya realized. If Gabriel was under federal investigation, his fitness as a guardian would be automatically questioned. The Kanes wouldn't even need to fabricate evidence. The investigation itself would be enough to trigger another custody review. When did this investigation begin? Maya asked, her teacher instincts helping her spot the timeline issues. Kane's attention shifted to her. Why do you ask? Because 3 weeks ago, Gabriel was still grieving his sister. If someone reported financial irregularities at that specific time. Maya let the implication hang in the air. Are you suggesting someone deliberately triggered this investigation? Dr. Chen asked, her expression sharp with interest. I'm suggesting the timing is convenient for anyone who wanted leverage over Gabriel, Maya replied. Kane's facade cracked slightly. Mrs. Rivera, you seem to have conspiracy theories about everything. Mrs. Rivera, said a new voice from the doorway, has excellent instincts. Everyone turned to see Vivien Laurent enter the boardroom, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. She carried a tablet and wore the expression of someone about to detonate a nuclear device. Vivien, Gabriel said carefully. What are you doing here? Saving your company, Vivien replied, moving to the wall-mounted screen. And possibly your life. She connected her tablet, and financial documents filled the display. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the real accounting irregularities at Rivera Industries. Maya watched Kane's face go pale as Vivien walked them through a complex web of shell companies, transferred funds, and forged authorizations, all leading back to Kane Industries. Richard, Vivien said with cold satisfaction, has been systematically draining Rivera Industries' assets for the past 18 months. Elena discovered the theft 3 days before her death. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Maya felt Gabriel's hand tremble slightly in hers. This is preposterous, Kane sputtered. These documents are fabricated. The FBI doesn't think so, Vivien interrupted. I submitted them this morning along with Elena's original files. The ones she hid before her final meeting with you. Maya's mind raced through the implications. Elena had discovered the embezzlement. She'd hidden the evidence. She'd arranged to confront Kane. And she'd died before she could expose him. You killed her, Gabriel said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kane's mask fell away completely, revealing something desperate and dangerous underneath. Elena was going to destroy everything. 40 years of building this industry, and she wanted to tear it down over some accounting discrepancies. $40 million in stolen assets is more than a discrepancy, Dr. Chen said icily. But Maya was focused on something else. The way Kane's security detail had positioned themselves near the exits, the way his phone was buzzing with urgent messages, the way he kept glancing at his watch. We need to leave, Maya said quietly to Gabriel. Now. What? The children. If Kane's this desperate, if he's about to be arrested. Maya's blood turned cold. Where are Sofia and Diego right now? Gabriel's face went white. Reeves was supposed to take them to school. Call him. Gabriel's hands shook as he dialed. The phone rang. And rang. And rang. Reeves always answers, Gabriel said, panic creeping into his voice. Vivien's expression darkened. Richard, where are the children? Kane's smile was pure malice. Safe. For now. The room exploded into chaos. Gabriel lunged across the table, only to be restrained by security. Maya felt the world tilting around her as she realized the scope of Kane's desperation. What do you want? She demanded. I want Gabriel to sign over his shares in Rivera Industries, Kane said calmly, as if he wasn't currently holding 2 children hostage. I want him to admit to the financial irregularities and accept full responsibility. And I want his new wife to disappear back to whatever hole she crawled out of. And if he refuses? Kane's smile was arctic. Children can have such terrible accidents. Just like their mother. Maya felt something fundamental break inside her chest. Rage, pure and clean, flooded her system. These children had been through enough. They'd lost their mother, been used as pawns, threatened and terrorized by adults who should have protected them. You made one mistake, Richard, Maya said, standing slowly. What's that? You threatened kids in front of a teacher. Maya pulled out her phone. Vivien, how long have you been recording this conversation? Vivien's smile was sharp as a blade. Since the moment I walked into the room. Kane's face went through several colors as he realized his confession had been broadcast live to the FBI agents who'd been waiting in the building's lobby. You see, Richard, Gabriel said as federal agents burst through the boardroom doors. My wife is even smarter than you thought. But Maya wasn't celebrating their victory. Sophia and Diego were still missing, still in danger, and Kane's arrest wouldn't automatically lead them to the children's location. As Kane was led away in handcuffs, Maya caught his final words. You'll never find them in time. And she realized their real fight was just beginning. The FBI command center buzzed with urgent activity, but Maya felt like she was drowning in quicksand. 2 hours since Kane's arrest. 2 hours since Reeves had failed to answer his phone. 2 hours of searching traffic cameras, cell phone records, and known Kane associates with no trace of Sophia and Diego. Gabriel paced the small conference room like a caged animal, his earlier composure completely shattered. They are 7 and 9 years old, he said for the 100th time. They must be terrified. Agent Nicole Brennan looked up from her laptop. We've got units checking every property connected to Kane Industries. His personal residence, storage facilities, vacation homes. It's not enough, Gabriel snapped. You don't understand these people. The Kanes have been planning this for months. They are not going to hide the children somewhere obvious. Maya watched Gabriel fall apart and felt her own composure cracking. In less than 48 hours, these children had become more real to her than anything in her previous life. The way Diego had whispered thank you when she'd read to them. The way Sophia had unconsciously reached for her hand during breakfast. We need to think like Elena, Maya said suddenly. She hid evidence before confronting Kane. Where would she have put the children if she suspected danger? Gabriel stopped pacing. Elena was paranoid about the custody arrangements. After their parents died, she always said she wished she'd planned better for emergencies. Did she have a safe house? Somewhere only you and the children would know. No, she. Gabriel's eyes widened. The lake house. Agent Martinez looked up. What lake house? Elena bought a property upstate under her maiden name 6 months before she died. She said it was for family vacations, but we never went. She kept making excuses. Maya felt hope flicker in her chest. Did the Kanes know about it? No one knew about it. Elena was secretive about everything after she started suspecting the embezzlement. Gabriel was already reaching for his phone. Reeves knew, though. Elena trusted him with all our security arrangements. Agent Martinez was typing rapidly. What's the address? I don't know. Elena handled all the paperwork. Gabriel's voice cracked with frustration. But Reeves would have the information. If Reeves is alive, Agent Martinez said grimly. The room fell silent. Maya felt ice form in her stomach as she realized what they were all thinking. Reeves had been Gabriel's protector for years. If he was compromised, Gabriel's phone rang. Everyone in the room froze. Reeves. Gabriel answered immediately, putting the call on speaker. Uncle Gabe. Sophia's voice, small and frightened, filled the room. Gabriel's knees nearly buckled. Sophia, sweetheart, where are you? Are you and Diego okay? We're at a house by a lake. A lady brought us here. She said you sent her to keep us safe. Gabriel's eyes met Maya's. A lady. What lady, Sophia? The pretty one with the yellow hair. She said the bad people were trying to hurt us, so we had to come here until you could find us. Maya felt the world tilt sideways. Vivien, Sophia, Gabriel said carefully, is Reeves with you? He's here, but he's sleeping. The lady said he was very tired. Agent Martinez was already signaling her team, but Maya grabbed Gabriel's arm. Something was wrong. If Vivien had the children and Reeves was sleeping. Sophia, Maya said, moving closer to the phone. Can you see outside? What does the house look like? It's pretty. There's a big lake and lots of trees. Oh, the lady is coming back. She wants to talk to Uncle Gabe. Gabriel. Vivien's voice, smooth as silk, came through the speaker. I see you've involved the FBI. How disappointing. Gabriel's face had gone white. Vivien, what the hell are you doing? What I've been doing for the past 2 years, Vivien replied calmly. Protecting my investment. Maya felt pieces clicking into place with horrifying clarity. You've been working with Kane all along. Working with Richard. Vivien laughed, the sound brittle. Oh, my dear Maya, you still don't understand. Richard was my employee. Everything he did, every move he made, I orchestrated it all. Agent Martinez was frantically signaling her team to trace the call, but Maya knew it was probably futile. Vivien was too smart to be caught that easily. Why? Gabriel's voice was barely a whisper. Because Elena was going to destroy everything, Vivien said. Do you know what Rivera Industries was worth when your sister decided to play detective? $12 billion. Do you know what it's worth now, after 2 years of her meddling and your emotional instability? $8 billion. Maya's mind raced through the implications. You killed Elena. Elena killed herself, Vivien said coldly. I simply ensured she discovered the embezzlement at the right time, in the right way. I needed her gone, and I needed Gabriel discredited. The custody battle was supposed to break him completely. Gabriel sank into a chair, the full scope of the betrayal washing over him. How long? How long have I been planning this? Since the day Elena inherited your parents' money and decided to play philanthropist instead of capitalist. How long have I been sleeping with you? On and off for 3 years. How long have I loved you? Vivien's voice turned bitter. Since the day we met. And you never even noticed. Maya felt like she'd been punched in the chest. Gabriel and Vivien had been lovers. Of course they had. They moved around each other with the familiarity of shared intimacy, shared history. How had Maya thought she could compete with that? The children, Gabriel said, his voice hollow. What do you want? I want you to sign over your shares in Rivera Industries. All of them. To me. And then you'll let them go. Vivien's silence stretched too long. Maya felt horror crawling up her throat. Vivien, Gabriel said desperately, they are innocent children. They are Elena's children. They are proof of her legacy, her values, everything that stands in the way of what Rivera Industries could become. Vivien's voice was cold as winter. I won't make the same mistake twice. Maya's hand found Gabriel's, gripping it with desperate strength. There has to be another way. Actually, Vivien said, there is. Maya, you could take their place. The room went silent. What? Maya whispered. You've become quite the problem, my dear. Gabriel never cared about anyone the way he's started caring about you. I can see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. You've given him hope again, and hope makes people unpredictable. Maya felt Gabriel's hand tighten on hers. So here's my offer, Vivien continued. Maya comes to the lake house. Alone. She trades places with the children, and they go free. No, Gabriel said immediately. Absolutely not. Then the children die, Vivien said simply. And you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you chose your new wife over your sister's babies. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of impossible choices crushing down on her. She thought about Sophia's fierce protectiveness of her little brother, about Diego's nightmares, about the way they'd both curled up against her while she read to them. She thought about Gabriel's hands shaking as he'd called Reeves's phone. About the way he'd knelt beside the children that morning, promising them they were safe. She thought about her ex-husband's voice telling her she'd never be enough for anything that mattered. Maybe he was wrong. Where? Maya asked quietly. Maya, no. Vivien, Gabriel said desperately. They are innocent children. They are Elena's children. They are proof of her legacy, her values, everything that stands in the way of what Rivera Industries could become. Vivien's voice was cold as winter. I won't make the same mistake twice. Maya's hand found Gabriel's, gripping it with desperate strength. There has to be another way. Actually, Vivien said, there is. Maya, you could take their place. The room went silent. What? Maya whispered. You've become quite the problem, my dear. Gabriel never cared about anyone the way he's started caring about you. I can see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. You've given him hope again, and hope makes people unpredictable. Maya felt Gabriel's hand tighten on hers. So here's my offer, Vivien continued. Maya comes to the lake house. Alone. She trades places with the children, and they go free. No, Gabriel said immediately. Absolutely not. Then the children die, Vivien said simply. And you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you chose your new wife over your sister's babies. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of impossible choices crushing down on her. She thought about Sophia's fierce protectiveness of her little brother, about Diego's nightmares, about the way they'd both curled up against her while she read to them. She thought about Gabriel's hands shaking as he'd called Reeves's phone. About the way he'd knelt beside the children that morning, promising them they were safe. She thought about her ex-husband's voice telling her she'd never be enough for anything that mattered. Maybe he was wrong. Where? Maya asked quietly. Maya, no. Where, Vivien? Vivien gave them an address upstate. You have 2 hours. Come alone, or the children die. Bring backup, and the children die. Try to be clever, and the children die. The line went dead. Gabriel turned to Maya, his eyes desperate. I won't let you do this. You don't get to decide, Maya said softly. They are children, Gabriel. They've already lost their mother. And I've already lost my sister. I won't lose you too. The raw emotion in his voice made Maya's breath catch. She realized that somewhere in the past 2 days, between the fake marriage and the real danger, between the corporate boardrooms and the children's bedtime stories, she'd fallen completely in love with this man. And he'd fallen in love with her too. Maya, Gabriel said, his hands framing her face. There has to be another way. Maybe there is. Maya looked at Agent Martinez. How long to get a team to that location? 90 minutes if we move now, Martinez replied. But if Vivien sees them coming? She won't, Maya said. Because I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. Gabriel's eyes searched hers. What are you thinking? Maya smiled, feeling pieces of a plan forming in her mind. I'm thinking that Vivien made one crucial mistake. What? She underestimated what a teacher will do to protect her kids. But even as Maya spoke the words, she knew the truth that Gabriel could see in her eyes. This was a suicide mission. Vivien had no intention of letting any of them survive. The only question was whether Maya could save Sophia and Diego before Vivien killed them all. Gabriel pulled her against him, and for one perfect moment, Maya let herself imagine a different world. One where they'd met under normal circumstances, where they could have fallen in love slowly and safely, where they could have built a real family together. I love you, Gabriel whispered against her hair. I love you too, Maya whispered back, memorizing the feel of his arms around her. And then she pulled away, because some things were worth dying for, even if it meant breaking both their hearts. The drive to the lake house felt like traveling toward her own execution. Maya gripped the steering wheel of the FBI surveillance van, her knuckles white as Agent Martinez's voice crackled through the hidden earpiece. Signal's getting weak, Martinez said. You'll be on your own once you reach the property. Maya stared at the GPS showing 2 miles to destination. 2 miles to whatever Vivien had planned. The children come out first. That's non-negotiable. Maya, Gabriel's voice came through the comm, rough with emotion. Please. There has to be another way. There isn't. Maya forced her voice to stay steady. We both know Vivien won't stop. Even if you give her the company, she'll never let the children live. They are witnesses to everything. Gabriel's silence confirmed what they both understood. This was always going to end with someone dying. The lake house materialized through the trees like something from a fairy tale, if fairy tales ended in blood. Victorian architecture, wraparound porch, boat dock extending into mirror-still water. Under different circumstances, it would have been beautiful. Maya parked in the circular drive and cut the engine. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the gentle lap of water against the dock. No signs of life. No movement in the windows. I'm here, Maya said quietly, knowing Vivien was listening somehow. Her phone buzzed with a text, come to the dock. Alone. Maya walked across the property, hyper-aware of every shadow, every sound. The dock stretched 20 feet into the lake, ending at a small gazebo. And there, sitting calmly in a white wicker chair like she was hosting a garden party, was Vivien Laurent. "Maya, darling," Vivien said without turning around. "Right on time. Where are the children?" "Safe. For now." Vivien gestured to an empty chair. "Please, sit. We have so much to discuss." Maya remained standing. "I want to see Sophia and Diego first." Vivien sighed and pressed something on her phone. The device in her hand lit up with a video feed. Sophia and Diego huddled together in what looked like a basement, both crying silently. Reeves lay motionless on the floor beside them, his chest rising and falling shallowly. "They are unharmed," Vivien said. "Unlike Reeves, who tried to play hero when I explained the situation to him." Maya's heart clenched at the sight of the children's terror. "Let them go. You have me now." "Oh, my dear girl." Vivien finally turned, and Maya saw something alien in her eyes, a complete absence of humanity. "You still don't understand. This was never about trading hostages. This is about ending the Rivera family line permanently." The words hit Maya like ice water. What? Gabriel's parents, Elena, and now Gabriel himself, they were all obstacles to progress. Rivera Industries should be strip mining resources and maximizing profits, not funding schools and hospitals and other bleeding heart nonsense. Vivien stood gracefully, moving to the gazebo's railing. Elena's children would have grown up with the same misguided values. They would have inherited everything eventually, continued their mother's legacy of weakness. They are innocent children. They are liabilities. Vivien's voice was matter-of-fact, as if discussing the weather. "And you, my dear Maya, have become the biggest liability of all." Maya felt the trap closing around her. "Because Gabriel loves me. Because you've reminded him what he's fighting for." Vivien's expression turned bitter. "Do you know how long I worked to break him? 2 years of systematic destruction. His sister's death, the custody battles, the corporate sabotage. I had him exactly where I needed him, broken, desperate, isolated. And then I showed up. And suddenly he had hope again. Suddenly he was making smart decisions, seeing through my manipulations, fighting back." Vivien pulled a gun from her purse, holding it casually at her side. "You've undone years of careful work." Maya's mind raced through options, all of them terrible. The children were somewhere in the house, probably locked in a basement. Reeves was injured, possibly dying. Gabriel and the FBI were miles away. And Vivien had clearly planned this endgame for months. "What do you want?" Maya asked. "I want Gabriel to watch everyone he loves die," Vivien said simply. "His sister's children first, then you, then I'll arrange for his own tragic accident. After that, Rivera Industries will be mine to reshape as it should have been from the beginning." Maya's phone rang. Gabriel's name on the screen. "Answer it," Vivien said, raising the gun. "Put it on speaker." Maya's hands shook as she complied. "Gabriel." "Maya, thank God. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. The children are about to die," Vivien interrupted, taking the phone from Maya's hands. "Hello, darling. Miss me?" Gabriel's voice turned deadly. "Vivien, let them go. You want to hurt someone, hurt me." "Oh, I intend to. But first, I want you to understand the scope of your failure." Vivien's smile was razor-sharp. "Elena's accident wasn't an accident, but you already suspected that. What you don't know is that I've been planning her death since the day she inherited your parents' money." Maya watched Gabriel's world crumble through the speaker. "Your parents' car accident 10 years ago? Also my handiwork. They were getting suspicious about some accounting irregularities, early versions of Richard's embezzlement scheme." Vivien paced the gazebo like a predator. "Elena survived that crash, but she never stopped asking questions. So I decided to play the long game. You killed my entire family." Gabriel's voice was barely human. "I removed obstacles to progress," Vivien corrected. "And now I'm going to finish the job." Maya saw her opening. While Vivien was focused on Gabriel's pain, Maya lunged for the gun. But Vivien was faster, bringing the weapon up and firing in one smooth motion. The bullet caught Maya in the shoulder, spinning her around and sending her crashing into the gazebo's railing. Pain exploded through her body as she collapsed to the wooden deck. "Maya!" Gabriel's voice screamed through the phone. "She's alive," Vivien said calmly. "For now. But Gabriel, if you're thinking about charging to the rescue, you should know I have motion sensors throughout the property. Any sign of law enforcement, and the children die instantly." Maya pressed her hand against the bleeding wound, trying to think through the pain. She could hear Sophia and Diego crying somewhere in the house, could see Reeves's still form on Vivien's phone screen. "What do you want?" Gabriel asked, his voice hollow. "I want you to choose," Vivien said. "Drive here alone, no FBI, no backup, no clever plans. Walk into this house knowing you're going to die. And in exchange, I'll make the children's deaths quick and painless. And if I don't come?" Vivien's smile was arctic. "Then I take my time with all of them. Starting with your precious Sophia." The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. "Gabriel, don't," Maya started. Vivien kicked her in the wounded shoulder, sending fresh agony through her body. "His coming," Vivien said into the phone. "Because Gabriel Rivera has always been fatally sentimental. It's what got his family killed, and it's what's going to kill him." She ended the call and looked down at Maya with something like pity. "You really thought love would be enough, didn't you? That's what makes you people so easy to destroy. You believe in fairy tales." Maya struggled to sit up, blood seeping between her fingers. "And you believe in nothing. That's what makes you weak." Vivien's expression darkened. "Weak? I've spent 15 years building a fortune through strategic elimination of obstacles. I've manipulated some of the most powerful people in the world. I've orchestrated deaths that looked like accidents and takeovers that looked like legitimate business. But you've never been loved," Maya said quietly. "Not really. Gabriel slept with you, but he never loved you. And that's what this is really about, isn't it?" The gun came up again, pressing against Maya's forehead. "You don't know anything about love. I know Gabriel would die for Sophia and Diego. I know he'd die for me. I know that kind of love makes people willing to sacrifice everything for each other." Maya met Vivien's eyes. "What would you die for?" Vivien's hand trembled slightly. "Power. Control. The satisfaction of watching idealistic fools learn that the world doesn't care about their dreams." "That's not something to die for," Maya said. "That's something to live empty for." The sound of a car engine made them both turn. Gabriel's vehicle was approaching through the trees, traveling slowly, alone. "He came," Vivien said with satisfaction. "Of course he came." Maya watched the man she loved drive toward his death and felt something break inside her chest. They'd had 2 days. 2 days of falling in love, of becoming a family, of believing they could build something beautiful together. And now it was ending in blood and loss, just like everything else in Gabriel's life. "You win," Maya whispered. Vivien's smile was triumphant. "I always do." But as Gabriel's car pulled into the driveway, Maya caught sight of something in his windows, a reflection that didn't belong. And she realized that even in the darkest moments, love finds a way to fight back. Gabriel Rivera had never been one to give up without a fight. The question was whether it would be enough to save the children, or if they were all about to die together. Gabriel stepped out of his car with his hands raised, his face a mask of controlled anguish. Maya could see the precise moment he spotted her bleeding on the gazebo deck, the way his composure cracked, the way his hands clenched into fists before he forced them open again. "Let me see them," Gabriel called across the water. "Let me see Sophia and Diego." Vivien kept the gun trained on Maya while pulling out her phone. The screen showed the children still huddled in the basement, but now Diego was shaking Sophia, trying to wake her. The little girl's eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. "Sophia." Gabriel's voice broke. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing permanent," Vivien said casually. "Yet. But children can be so fragile when they are frightened. Sometimes their little hearts just stop." Maya watched Gabriel's face cycle through rage, desperation, and calculation. She knew that look, had seen it in her classroom when a student was solving an impossible equation. Gabriel was planning something. "What do you want?" Gabriel asked, walking slowly toward the dock. "I want you to choose," Vivien said, her voice carrying across the water with terrible clarity. "The woman you think you love, or your sister's children. You can save one. The other dies." Gabriel stopped walking. "What?" "You heard me. Maya or the children. Choose now, or I kill all 3. Maya felt the world fracture around her. This was the trap Vivien had been building toward, not just killing them, but forcing Gabriel to carry the weight of choosing who lived and who died. Making him complicit in the destruction of everything he loved. "Gabriel," Maya said, her voice steady despite the blood loss. "Choose the children." "No." Gabriel's voice was firm. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." Vivien's smile was radiant with cruel satisfaction. "This is what love gets you, Gabriel. Impossible choices and inevitable loss. Your parents faced the same choice when I sabotaged their car. Save themselves or save Elena. They chose Elena, and they all died anyway. Gabriel's face went white. They knew. In the final seconds, yes. Your mother tried to shield Elena with her own body. Your father tried to turn the wheel away from the tree. All useless gestures that only prolonged their suffering. Maya saw Gabriel's hands shake with rage, but she also saw something else. A slight movement of his fingers, patterns that looked almost like sign language. Was he communicating with someone? Choose, Vivien repeated. Maya or the children? 10 seconds. Gabriel, please, Maya whispered. Save them. I can't lose you, Gabriel said, his voice breaking. I won't. Yes, you will, Vivien said with finality. Because that's what happens to the Rivera family. You lose everything you love, and you blame yourselves for not being strong enough to save them. Maya watched Gabriel's face and realized he was stalling, buying time for something. But what? The FBI was miles away. Reeves was unconscious. The children were locked in a basement. Unless. Maya thought about the reflection she'd seen in Gabriel's car windows. About the way he'd moved his fingers in those deliberate patterns. About Reeves's military background and the security systems Elena had insisted on. How long have you been planning this? Maya asked Vivien, trying to keep her talking. Years. Elena's death was the cornerstone, but the whole structure required patience. Vivien glanced at her watch. Gabriel, your time is up. Choose. I choose both, Gabriel said quietly. Vivien laughed. That's not an option. It is if you're willing to trade. Gabriel pulled something from his jacket, a device Maya didn't recognize. This is Elena's insurance policy. The one thing she hid that you never found. Vivien's confidence wavered slightly. What are you talking about? Elena didn't just hide financial records before she died. She hid this. Gabriel held up the device. Every conversation you had with Richard Kane. Every plan you made. Every detail of how you killed my parents and arranged Elena's murder. All recorded, all dated, all legally admissible. Maya felt a spark of hope, but Vivien's laugh was genuinely amused. You're bluffing. If Elena had that kind of evidence, she would have used it. She was going to. The day she died, she was planning to expose everything. But she wanted the children safe first, so she gave this to Reeves with instructions to hide it until they were older. Gabriel's voice was steady now. She never counted on Reeves becoming part of our family. Vivien's expression darkened. It doesn't matter. I have the gun. I have the hostages. Your evidence is worthless if you're all dead. Except you made one mistake, Gabriel said. What mistake? Gabriel smiled, and Maya saw something terrible and beautiful in his expression. You assumed Reeves was unconscious. Vivien spun toward her phone screen just as Reeves's eyes opened in the basement feed. He'd been awake, waiting, listening through the hidden microphones that connected the house's security system. But Maya realized with horror that Gabriel's revelation had given Reeves information about the children's location, and it had also revealed that Reeves was conscious and mobile. Which meant, the motion sensors, Maya gasped. Vivien's face went white as she understood the same thing Maya did. The basement. Reeves wasn't in the basement anymore. The sound of splintering would came from the house behind them as Reeves kicked down the basement door. But Vivien was already moving, the gun swinging between Gabriel and Maya. Choose now, Vivien screamed. Or they all die. Gabriel looked at Maya, and in that moment, she saw his impossible choice reflected in his eyes. He could rush Vivien and maybe save Maya, but the children would die. He could surrender and maybe save the children, but Maya would die. He could try to save everyone and likely doom them all. I love you, Gabriel said to Maya. And then he made his choice. Gabriel charged straight at Vivien, not toward the gazebo where Maya lay bleeding, but toward the house where Sofia and Diego were trapped. He was choosing the children, just as Maya had begged him to. Vivien's gun tracked his movement, and Maya knew with crystalline clarity that Gabriel was about to die. That he was sacrificing himself in a desperate gamble that Reeves could save the children while Vivien was distracted. Time slowed to a crawl. Maya saw Gabriel running, saw Vivien's finger tighten on the trigger, saw the muzzle flash. But the gunshot didn't come from Vivien's direction. It came from the house. Reeves appeared in the doorway, military rifle in his hands, his shot taking Vivien in the shoulder and spinning her around. But her momentum carried her backward, and as she fell, her gun discharged. Maya watched the bullet catch Gabriel in the chest, watched him stumble and fall to his knees 20 feet from the house. watched blood bloom across his white shirt like a terrible flower. Gabriel. Maya tried to stand, but her wounded shoulder gave out, sending her crashing back to the gazebo deck. Vivien was down but still moving, still dangerous. Reeves was rushing toward Gabriel, but he was too far away. The children were crying somewhere in the house, calling for their uncle. And Gabriel was dying in the dirt while staring at Maya with eyes full of love and regret. Choose, Vivien had said. In the end, love itself had chosen. Gabriel had tried to save everyone and had saved no one. The impossible choice had become the inevitable tragedy. Maya watched the man she loved bleeding out in the driveway and realized that sometimes, even the greatest love wasn't enough to overcome the darkness in the world. Sometimes the fairy tale just ended in blood. Maya stared at Gabriel's bleeding form and felt something fundamental shift inside her chest. Not break, shift. Like tectonic plates realigning, like the earth itself deciding to change direction. She'd spent her entire life being told she wasn't enough. Not smart enough for the scholarship kids, not rich enough for the popular crowd, not strong enough to save her mother from addiction, not special enough to keep her husband faithful. Every voice in her head screamed that she was just a teacher, just a woman with nothing but good intentions and a bleeding shoulder. But as Maya watched Vivien struggle to her feet, gun still in her trembling hand, as she heard Sophia and Diego crying in the house, as she saw Reeves torn between helping Gabriel and protecting the children, Maya realized that sometimes being just something was exactly enough. Vivien, Maya said, her voice carrying across the space with sudden authority. Vivien turned, swaying from blood loss but still dangerous. Still alive. How inconvenient. Maya stood slowly, her shoulders screaming in protest. You made one critical error in all your planning. What's that? You researched my finances, my marriage, my employment history. But you never researched where I taught. Maya took a step forward, then another. Jefferson High School. Inner city. The kind of place where teachers don't just teach, they survive. Vivien's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Maya's hand went to her back, to the small of her spine where every teacher at Jefferson learned to keep certain necessities. 3 lockdowns last year. 2 armed intruders. 15 gang-related incidents in my classroom alone. Her fingers found what she was looking for. The tactical pen Jefferson's security director had given all faculty after the second shooting. Designed to look innocuous, capable of shattering car windows or, if necessary, serving as a weapon. You think you understand violence because you've orchestrated it from a distance, Maya continued, moving steadily closer to Vivien. But I've stood between gunmen and children. I've talked down kids high on drugs and grief. I've learned to fight not because I wanted to, but because someone had to. Vivien raised her gun, but her hand was shaking badly now. Stay back. The thing about teachers in schools like Jefferson, Maya said conversationally, is that we learn to read micro-expressions. We learn to spot lies, manipulation, desperation. We learn to move fast when children are in danger. Maya was close enough now to see the calculation in Vivien's eyes, the moment when Predator realized she'd misjudged her prey. You want to know what else we learn? Maya asked. And then she moved. Years of watching for signs of violence had taught Maya to read the moment before someone pulled a trigger, the tiny muscle contractions, the shift in breathing, the almost imperceptible tightening of the finger. She dove left as Vivien fired, the bullet passing so close she felt its heat. Maya rolled across the gazebo deck and came up inside Vivien's guard, the tactical pen driving into the pressure point at Vivien's wrist. The gun clattered away across the wooden planks. But Vivien wasn't finished. She was younger, stronger, and driven by years of fury at a world that had denied her what she wanted. Her nails raked across Maya's wounded shoulder, sending fire through her nervous system. You think you've won? Vivien snarled as they grappled. Gabriel's dying. The children are traumatized. You've saved nothing. Maya felt Vivien's hands close around her throat and knew she had perhaps 30 seconds before unconsciousness. 30 seconds to end this before Vivien found another weapon, before she hurt the children out of spite, before she destroyed what was left of Gabriel's family. Maya thought about Sophia's fierce protectiveness of her little brother. About Diego's quiet courage in the face of nightmare after nightmare. About Gabriel charging toward certain death because he couldn't bear to lose anyone else. About love being worth fighting for, even when the odds were impossible. Maya drove her knee up into Vivien's solar plexus and followed with an elbow strike to the temple. Moves learned not in self-defense classes but in the brutal school of staying alive while protecting other people's children. Vivien crumpled, finally unconscious. Maya stood over her, breathing hard, and realized the gunshots had stopped. The crying from the house had stopped too, replaced by Reeves's voice calling the children's names. Gabriel, Maya whispered, remembering. She ran toward where he'd fallen, her heart hammering against her ribs. Please, she thought. Please let him be alive. Please don't let love end this way. Gabriel was on his back in the driveway, Reeves kneeling beside him with a first aid kit. But Gabriel's eyes were open, and he was conscious. The vest, Reeves said as Maya dropped to her knees beside them. Elena made me get him bulletproof vests after the first death threat. He's got cracked ribs and a hell of a bruise, but the bullet didn't penetrate. Maya felt tears streaming down her face as Gabriel's hand found hers. The children? Gabriel asked weakly. Scared but unhurt, Reeves replied. They are asking for their Aunt Maya. Gabriel's eyes met Maya's, and she saw something there that took her breath away. Not just love, but awe. Recognition. The look of a man who'd just watched someone become exactly who they were meant to be. Aunt Maya, Gabriel said softly. I like the sound of that. Maya leaned down and kissed him, tasting salt tears and blood and the sweetness of survival. Don't you ever scare me like that again. I thought I was choosing, Gabriel said. The children or you. I never imagined you'd save us all. That's what families do, Maya said simply. They save each other. The sound of sirens filled the air as FBI vehicles surrounded the property. Agent Martinez was barking orders, paramedics were rushing toward them, and somewhere in the chaos, Vivien Laurent was being loaded into an ambulance under heavy guard. But Maya only had eyes for Gabriel and the two small figures running toward them from the house, Sophia and Diego, both crying, both alive, both reaching for the adults who'd fought to protect them. Uncle Gabe. Sophia threw herself into Gabriel's arms, careful of his injured ribs. We knew you'd come. We knew Aunt Maya would save us. Diego wrapped his arms around Maya's neck, his small body shaking. I was scared, he whispered. I know, Maya whispered back. But you were so brave. Both of you were so brave. As the paramedics worked on Gabriel and Maya, as statements were given and evidence was collected, as the full scope of Vivien's crimes began to unfold, Maya felt something she'd never experienced before, the absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. Gabriel's company was safe. Richard Kane and Vivien Laurent would spend the rest of their lives in prison. The children were safe, loved, protected. And Maya had found her family. So, Gabriel said as they sat in the back of an ambulance, Sophia and Diego curled up between them. About that school you wanted to build. Maya smiled, feeling hope bloom in her chest like spring after the longest winter. What about it? I was thinking we could name it after Elena. The Elena Rivera Academy for students who need someone to believe in them. Maya's throat tightened with emotion. She would have liked that. Aunt Maya. Sophia looked up at her with Elena's dark eyes. Will you really be our aunt? Forever? Maya looked at Gabriel, seeing her own feelings reflected in his expression. Love. Commitment. The promise of a real future together. Forever and always, Maya said. If that's what you want. That's what we want, Diego said solemnly. We talked about it in the basement. We decided you're the best aunt ever. Gabriel laughed, the sound rich with joy and relief. Well, I guess that settles it. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Rivera. Maya realized that 48 hours ago, she'd been celebrating her divorce, toasting to freedom and new beginnings. She'd had no idea that her new beginning would involve a fake marriage that became real, children who needed protecting, and a love worth fighting for. She'd thought she was helping a stranger. Instead, she'd found her home. I love you, she told Gabriel. I love you too, he replied. All of us. And as they drove away from the lake house, together, alive, whole, Maya understood that sometimes the most beautiful love stories began with the words, "Pretend I'm your husband." Sometimes pretending became the truest thing you'd ever done. 6 months later, Maya sat in the same upscale restaurant where her life had changed forever, but everything was different now. The corner booth that had once felt like a refuge for her loneliness was now filled with laughter. Sophia's animated storytelling, Diego's careful questions about the menu, Gabriel's warm smile as he watched his family. Their family. And then Reeves said he'd teach me how to throw a punch properly, Sophia was saying, her dark eyes sparkling with mischief. You know, just in case any more bad guys try to mess with us. Absolutely not, Gabriel said firmly, though Maya could see he was fighting a smile. Why not? Diego asked. Aunt Maya knows how to fight. She saved us. Maya felt the familiar warmth that came whenever the children called her Aunt Maya. The legal adoption had been finalized 3 weeks ago, making their family official in every way that mattered. Her name was now legally Maya Rivera, and this time, the marriage was as real as the love that had created it. Fighting should always be the last resort, Maya said gently. But knowing how to protect yourself and the people you love, that's important. Gabriel reached across the table to squeeze her hand, his wedding ring catching the light. The simple gold band matched hers. They'd exchanged them in a small ceremony surrounded by Sophia, Diego, Reeves, and a handful of friends who'd become family. Nothing like the elaborate society wedding Gabriel could have afforded, but perfect for who they'd become. Speaking of protecting people, Gabriel said, his eyes taking on that familiar gleam that meant he had news. I got a call from the contractor today. Maya's heart skipped. The school. Good, Sophia said firmly. Bad people should stay in jail. What happened to forgiveness? Diego asked, ever the philosopher. Maya considered her words carefully. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending bad things didn't happen. It means not letting those bad things poison your heart. We forgive them so we can be happy, not because they deserve it. Gabriel squeezed her hand, his eyes warm with pride. How did I get so lucky? You asked a stranger to pretend to be your wife, Maya said with a smile. Best decision you ever made. Second best, Gabriel corrected. The best was asking her to make it real. As they finished dinner and prepared to head home, to their home, with its family photos and children's artwork and guitars leaning against windows, Maya felt the deep satisfaction of a life well lived. Not perfect, not without scars, but full of love and purpose and the kind of happiness that comes from fighting for what matters. The Elena Rivera Academy would open in 3 months. Maya would speak to thousands of educators about the power of believing in students who'd been written off by everyone else. Gabriel's company would continue funding educational initiatives across the country. Sophia and Diego would grow up knowing they were loved, protected, and free to dream as big as the sky. And every month, they'd return to this restaurant to remember that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with a whisper, "Pretend I'm your husband." Sometimes pretending becomes the truest thing you've ever done. As they walked to their car, Sophia skipping ahead with Diego, Gabriel wrapped his arm around Maya's waist. Any regrets? He asked. Maya looked at her family, chosen, fought for, and cherished, and felt her heart overflow with gratitude for the path that had led her here. Only one, she said. I regret that we didn't meet sooner. Gabriel smiled, the expression transforming his entire face. We met exactly when we were supposed to. When we were ready to become the people we needed to be for each other. And as they drove home through the city lights, Maya knew he was right. Every heartbreak, every struggle, every moment of doubt had led to this. A love worth fighting for, a family worth protecting, and a future bright with possibility. Sometimes the best things in life begin with the most desperate moments. Sometimes salvation comes disguised as a stranger's urgent whisper. Sometimes the greatest love stories start with the simplest words. Pretend I'm your husband. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you discover that the pretense was never pretense at all. It was destiny. What did this story teach you about the power of love to transform our darkest moments into our greatest triumphs? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will change how you see the world.